Welcome back to Unload the Bases podcast with Jay Long, myself, and Dalton Mall. We're happy to have you back. We're here to talk about showboating, showing emotion, and S-word talking in baseball. Can't say the real word, but everybody knows what I mean. Okay, we're here to talk about that and discuss our opinions, our feelings on it. This is actually a great topic for a lot of us because it's becoming so prevalent in all of baseball and honestly all of sports. But baseball is the real one that it's almost frowned upon. You know, it's like an unwritten rule. You don't show up the other team. That's a huge thing growing up that I played with was don't show up the other team, act like a professional, act like you've been here before. So we have a lot to talk about. We got different people to talk about. I think our first one that we want to talk about, as everybody knows about it, is the Louisville pitcher versus Vanderbilt. Right? The guy literally turned to the batter, said a few explicitives. The kid was pitching his butt off, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hyped up. He's excited. And, you know, the question is, doing this, is it detrimental and could it be causing bigger issues down the line for youth kids in baseball and sports in general? So, Jay, why don't you start us off? You have large opinions.
So, like you just said, the youth absolutely follows whatever college and professional baseball is doing. I have seen so many videos of kids like grittying after home runs, which to me is fun. I'm not saying that you can't have fun. For my opinion, like baseball should be fun. And I think the old heads on Twitter and all the people out there saying, oh, well, you can't have any fun. Baseball is supposed to be this way, that way. Well, the game's changing. It is what it is. And whether people like it or not, the game is changing. So I think, if you want to bring good energy and bring fun to your dugout, your teammates, that's an awesome thing. Like some of my most hype moments are when my teammates get out of a huge jam and they yell, scream at my dugout, and I'm ready to run through a brick wall because it's like that was the biggest moment of the game. We just got out of it. But then when it's my teammate that yells at the other dugout or opposing coach, whoever it is, it's like you sit back in your chair, you go, oh boy, here we go again. And now they just have another reason to want to kick your butt, the other team, that they already do. They show up to win, obviously. You're beating them down, and then you give them just one more reason to be like, you know what? This game is not over. We have it just gives that chip on the shoulder that, to me, I feel like doing it to the opposing dugout is the wrong way of going.
I mean, I somewhat agree. I personally think, when I was pitching, especially when I was a starter, when I was relieving, I mean, I was high energy. I didn't try to show it as much because I wanted the hitter to think like, why does this guy look like he's barely trying? Like, why does it look like he isn't doing anything? Why does he not look excited? Why does he not look angry? I wanted to kind of stay steady. I wanted to be steady Eddie the whole time. Just sit right here, just stay in my lane, just sit right here. I was hyped up inside. Yeah. And there was, you know, you have big time moments where, you know, the emotions take over. But I think, you know, the consummate professional, you know, knows how to ride those waves of emotion. And like you said, I mean, the game is changing. So you either change with it or you die. And I think, you know, that was a big thing that I adapted into our pitching program was, you know, more of the game's changing and I need to change with it. I both of you guys are OGs to the pitching program at this point. Yeah. You know, you remember how it started and you know where I'm at now. And I mean, I'm completely different than when it started. I mean, I was talking to somebody about it and they're like, why are you so much more relaxed now? And I was like, well, because, you know, the old me needs to change and adapt to what's happening. And, I can't be the way I was, and I think that's in sports. But I would say that baseball is the only sport where celebrating after something big is frowned upon.
Mhm.
If you've noticed, I have soccer players, Mia Hamm sliding, taking her shirt off and screaming. I mean, those are huge moments. You have
Touchdowns. You got guys.
LeBron James getting an alley oop and slamming home on someone's face, and he just sits there and screams. You have football players doing the gritty in the end zone. Even in freaking rugby, they have cheering, yelling, screaming. Every sport except for baseball has this. So why is it that this is the only one where if you celebrate too hard, you might get zipped in the face by a fastball, you know? And that's the interesting thing for me. And, this game, the reason why this game is so beautiful is because it humbles you to your core. It really does. Like they always say, like the ball has eyes and it will find you. And it's honestly, for those of us that have been playing for so long, it is true. You make an error and you don't want the ball, it will find you 100% of the time. So I think, having that like emotion just spill out of you is only going to bring on the baseball gods, only going to bring the baseball gods to haunt you even further. My opinion.
Yeah. What do you think, Dalton?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen a guy like showboat at the dugout or like do something, and then like the very next inning he's giving up like a 4 spot or something. Like I feel like anytime, like I think a little bit of like competition is good, but anytime you go out of yourself to do something for like to show off to other people, I feel like it's almost always negative.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's so hard to get mentally focused for a game and to have that kind of like one pitch at a time mentality, and then to like completely take yourself out of that just for like that positive emotion that you're looking for. Like I just think it's a negative, especially if you're continuing to, like if you're a starting pitcher, you're showboating the dugout in the first inning, like you're probably screwed for the rest of the game.
That's my thing. You throw the 7th inning and it was like your 105th pitch and you K the last guy with runners on. You want to get pumped up, fist pump, yell. That to me is awesome. Your day's done. You just ended them, whatever they were trying to finish off that you started. But like you K 2 or 3 in the first inning and you're screaming and yelling, like you got 2 more times with those same dudes.
Right.
And so like my example is like the one time I've really shown emotion was like after my last outing last spring. I came in out of the bullpen through like 8 with like 1 or 2 runs, and we came back, huge win, and I was just screaming and yelling. Like I was done for the day. Those dudes were eliminated from the tournament. They had nothing against me. You give the opponent that extra edge.
Yep.
Screaming and yelling. To me, like you said, baseball gods are watching. You are no longer in the driver's seat.
You better look up. You're still playing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this brings us to the exact first point. So Louisville pitcher, his name is Luke Smith. Mm-hmm. For those of you that didn't know what his name was, he was Goggles, right? Everybody called him Goggles because he wore those crazy glasses. At the point where he yelled that explicitive at the hitter, he yelled "F you." I think everybody knows what that means.
10 times.
Well, Vanderbilt had been talking to him the whole game, that's part of Vanderbilt's game, right? They try to make you get out of your shell to make you uncomfortable, so that way they can take advantage, and they did. So at that point, he had pitched 8 innings, solid innings. He had 10 Ks at that point. That was his 10th strikeout, and he comes out the next inning, gets the first out. Right, he is still adrenaline high, and he's still fired up. Walks the next batter up, double in the gap, tie game. So like, at what point is it too much excitement to where it affects your game and also hypes up the other team? Because Vanderbilt, after the game, his name is Philip Clark, he was their DH. After the game, they asked him about this, and this is his literal quote. He said, "That was the turning point in the game for us. Things like that definitely fire us up. when Smith yelled at us, it really gave us the energy that we needed. Like, okay, that's where you want to go to. Okay, like, at what point does that harm the game? Like, does the coach need to step in and be like, hey man, chill out, stop talking to the other team? I mean, at that point it was too little too late, but like still, like he literally gave the energy to the other team to be like, okay, like it was that close of a game in that situation. Yeah, you're hyped up, but do you kind of like hold it in till you get into the dugout before you start
So
chirping at the other team walking off the field?
do you guys
Or
pitch
you're like just
better or worse when you're like on high adrenaline, high like
I pitched it both.
yeah.
So starting, I believe starting is like a ship in the ocean. You know, you don't want to go crashing into waves as hard as you can. You kind of want to ride the emotion waves, right? I think with relieving, if you're going to be a closer, obviously your adrenaline is going to be super high. Like
Yeah.
the last year in my career, which was 2018, I went from the starting rotation to relieving. That was a conversation me and my manager had, and I explained to him I thought that my best opportunity was to get signed was to be in the bullpen. And I noticed that when I would go in and pitch, that my energy, I was a lot more hyped up for that single inning, and I was a lot more exhausted. I became a lot more tired after games because I was revving my engine as high as I possibly could for 15, 20 pitches, and then I was done. Like I was just dead tired.
You
So
same way, Dalton, or you pitch better or worse when you're pumped up / like normal?
I would I would say I have to work up to it. If I'm like sitting at my maximum like emotional like level or my maximum adrenaline at the start of the game, like it's gonna go downhill from there. Like you kind of um blow blow out your adrenaline, then come back down and you just have nothing left in the tank. But I think for me it's kind of working up to like at some point in the game I'm gonna get to that like 9 or 10, but like it's like finding the time and place to do that without exhausting yourself. um but
it's like
I
runners in a
think
race.
yeah, like you got bases loaded in like the fourth inning and you got to get a big punch out or something, like that's your perfect time to like really kind of put it all out there. But you're facing the first batter of the game and you're trying to hit your best velo or show something to the other team, and you're probably in the wrong mind state. I like there's like something in I think it's in the Navy SEALs that they say, but you're like, no matter like how bad something is or how good something's going for you, you always try to stay at like a 7 and stay between like a 6 and an 8. Like you never get to that 9, 10, and you never go below that 6, because you let that emotion take over and you're not in that kind of like flow state, then it's gonna be really hard to kind of get back into that like 7 range.
I just feel like it's tough, especially like when you're pitching at that high emotion, high excitement when it's going well. Where do you go to when it's going bad? Because
Mm,
a guy like Liam Hendricks, for example, like he's dominant. It rarely goes bad for him. Let's just be honest.
Right.
If he does have like a rough inning, where does he internally kind of go to say like, okay, let's bear down and get out of this? Because his usual self is scream and yell, get all excited,
Exactly.
go through.
I think there's a difference though. I think there's a big difference between like excitement and just pure anger.
That's true. I agree 100%.
So like you can be super excited and not be pissed or angry, but like once you hit that mode of angry, I mean Tim Corbin even said after this game, he's like, you can't play this game angry,
No.
because I don't for anybody that's listening, when you get super angry, things start to happen to your body physiologically. You start shaking a little bit. You don't want to be shaking on the mound. You don't want to be shaking on the at bat, because that's just uncomfortable situation. Um, so like, do you villainize yourself by becoming like that just mean person all the time? Or do you treat it as if you're Jacob DeGrom and you strike somebody out, you're like, yeah, whatever, and just like walk off the mound? Or are you a Max Scherzer where you strike somebody out and you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like what person are you at the end of the day? And I think that's person to person, I guess, is what it is. I played with guys, I played with Josh Stalmont, who's now with the Royals. He's one of their late inning guys, and he was the most even keeled back end bullpen person I've ever met in my entire life. He was so even keeled. Every day he came in, it was the same person. And it's almost like that consistency of having that person in the back part of the bullpen made everyone before him more comfortable.
Yeah.
So we didn't have all that pressure. I think that's kind of personally, this is my personal opinion. I personally feel like if you have that person, like a Wade Davis, everybody knows about Wade Davis and they know how dominant he is, but he is a super even keeled guy and he is very much relaxed out there. Like his pregame warm-up bullpen to go in and pitch is a joke. Like Parker Morin, who's a PSP athlete as well, who is the bullpen catcher for the Royals now. He played with them for a few years. And he was saying, he's like, I don't think he threw a pitch over 80 miles an hour in his pregame bullpen. And then his first pitch in the game is 96. Like he just had that kind of like, okay, hey, like, I got this. Don't worry about it. Like, you guys are good. Take a relax. I got this. And I feel like that's why his contract was so big, because it made everybody more comfortable, before him. That's seventh.
You knew what you were going to get.
Ninth, huh?
You always knew what you were going to get.
Right. So like having that guy like a Liam Hendricks, who's so just like through the roof, scream, yell, whatever in the back end of the bullpen, is it more detrimental to those guys before, because they're like, man, if I don't do well in the game, like if we're winning and I don't do well and we end up blowing it and Liam can't pitch, is he going to come after me? Like, yeah. Is he going to get in my butt after the game in my locker and be like, why did you give up that run? Like, you got to be more serious. Like, and then you have Wade Davis like, sorry, Wade, I blew that. He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what makes you more comfortable as like a teammate?
I think every good team has at least one of those guys. It's just like, like it's like having like a Michael Jordan on your team. Like you need that last game winning shot. Everyone's freaking out about the shot. Like Jordan's already made it in his head.
Yeah.
Like you have the closer in your bullpen who's so mentally prepared, so locked down, or it could even be like a starter that's going to start like game 7 for you, and you just know, like you just trust, you have that full confidence and trust in him. And I feel like that person is never someone who's riding the highs and the lows and all over the place and show. It's always like that DeGrom-esque, or even Scherzer may be like an extreme amount of energy, but it's the same extreme amount of energy throughout the entire start. Like he's consistent, bad or good. There's none of like the 10-2, like there's no big fluctuations, and he doesn't have a bad outing and go mope in the dugout and then have a good outing and brag about how good he is on Twitter or something. It's
right.
Have you guys ever played with somebody that you felt like the emotion was almost fake?
Yes. Yeah.
See, that's a problem to me, because I've always thought, like, if you are the person that's going to scream and yell and you're always that person, that's awesome. Like, I've also seen and played against like individuals where it felt like the screaming and yelling was them trying to act like they were just being something they weren't. And so they were experiencing a moment where they were dominating that they probably never have. And so they're just letting all the emotions out, changing completely who they are. I've always just, I don't enjoy being around somebody that has their one moment of fame and like takes it as if like it's the only thing they've ever done and they can live with that. And so like, I don't know. That's just one of my weird things about showing emotion, is like, if you're going to show emotion, it better be every single time out, every single day, every single, like, it's the way you work. It's not a option.
Yeah, but that also goes to what Dalton said. You want that person, if they're going to have that energy, at least bring it every single time.
Yeah. And have that line instead of the big waves.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to honestly like our generation a little bit, Jay. Is like, I feel like it's so much of like the social media and stuff now is all about like people pleasing and like your image and
100%.
like, and so like I think a lot of people just want to have like a really good image and really like want to please other people like when they're out there, but in reality like your best state of mind is going to be like only focusing on yourself and like what you can control. So it's just, I think like that's probably the worst thing about social media for like our sport is like, yes, like it does bring fun and excitement, but is it real fun, or is it like this like fake, like I'm trying to show you that, like I'm having fun for social media type thing,
Put out a
It's funny. It is funny that you mentioned y'all's generation on like the showboating stuff, but y'all weren't the first to do this.
It's 2 or 3 years younger than us.
No. Way before that.
But I'm saying the most you see it from is the generation of I'm saying the most videos and stuff you see personally is from the junior, senior in high school right now.
Well, that's because their phones are connected to their hands, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the first person to have. I mean, that's not where it started. I
Yeah.
can tell you exactly where it started, where the unwritten rules in baseball started to be broken. I can tell you exactly when it started. Ken Griffey frickin' Jr., my favorite baseball player in history.
That's
I
very
mean, he
true.
was unapologetically him. He's the GOAT. I mean, I love Ken Griffey. He was my favorite player growing up. My brother Alex even incorporated his swing in high school based off of Ken Griffey Jr. just because of how he changed the game. I mean, at that point, it was, have your shirt tucked in, have your pants nice and crisp, hats directly forward, no real eye black, no real showing off. And then Ken Griffey comes up there, shirt untucked, and his hat's like this, and he's like, had that little swag in his. I mean, that's honestly where it started. And they always say, rules are meant to be bent when rules are meant to be broken. Griffey broke those rules.
Yeah,
I mean, he was the first person that took that and just kicked the door in and said, "This is me. I'm not changing who I am. If you don't like me, you don't like me. But this is the way I play the game." And he for me made baseball fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Going off what Dalton said, like to me, Griffey did it because that's who he was, though. Griffey
Right.
wasn't doing it to post it on his Instagram or on his Twitter.
Mhm.
That's just the
You're saying these kids are showing out just because they can post it on Instagram and
a lot
Twitter?
of it is because they know somebody's filming, and they have their moment, and then it's like beautiful for them to put it on social media and have all their friends retweet, like all that stuff. Like, and that's cool. Like I'm not here to say one way is wrong or the other, but if you're going to the baseball field in your head to say, okay, I want to hit a double today so that I can post it to my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mhm.
that's awful, because that's just getting rid of America's pastime. You should show up to the baseball field one to hit a double for the satisfaction of hitting a double, all the hard work you've put in.
There's got to
And
be
I
some
think
sort of like mental thing about like psychological thing about that. Has to be.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like it, I think it's I mean, you look at like great athletes like, I've done a lot of reading on like Jordan and like Brady, and I mean you could go like there's a list. Well, there's a long list of great athletes, but I feel like every single one of them you get like that team focus and that desire to win over everything else. And I think when you shift that desire to something other than like trying to win, whether it's your stats, your posts on social media, whatever it could be, I think any shift from that desire, and I think like just reading about like flow state stuff too, is like any shift from like the main goal is just gonna throw everything out of loop. And like it's very like it's easy to say, but it's hard to do, because everyone wants to, it has all these alternative goals when they're out there, but in reality, like if your sole focus is to win, feel like that's the best psychological state to be in.
I
So
agree.
I look at that flow state. That was a big thing that my pitching coach, his name was Dan Reichert, in 2017 when I was with the Salt Dogs. That was a big thing that he talked about when I was starting. He's like, you got to find your flow state of pitching to where you can, be relaxed but still be competitive, and
Right.
that's huge. I think that honestly, he even though he coached me for 2 years, but I feel like he helped me with my preparation for the game better than better than any coach I've ever had. Him and my high school coach, Coach Roberson, Tim Roberson. He talked about it all the time, of having that like kind of relaxed but aggressive kind of state.
Mhm.
So it's cool that you did some research on that and found that, because these people are smarter than us, and if they're talking about this stuff in this flow state and staying in this kind of state of mind where you're still competitive but still relaxed, I mean, it is a real thing. And you mentioned all these huge names, TB12 being probably one of the bigger ones.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like they all have a different story, but it's all kind of a similar like way of getting into it, and it's just an overwhelming desire. Like I think it starts with setting a goal. It starts with the goal is to win, and then completely being able to clear your mind from everything else. Like something that I've heard used a lot is like imagining like every like, non like thoughts that aren't helping you, like you just imagine them all kind of on a river floating away and stuff like that, like just almost like a meditation type thing. And I think that can help with like flow state from what I've seen and experienced. And it that's the key thing for showboating thing. If you can do it and stay in your relaxed state of mind, and like you can strike out a guy, show him up, and then get right back into it, which I feel like most people can't. Like, go for it. But I just think that's something that the majority. I mean, it's hard enough. Like, I think most people struggle enough, including myself, to get into a flow state that doing anything to get yourself out of it is just like it's just a death trap.
There's
But
definitely another side to it. Like obviously we all kind of stay on the same opinion, but like I played with someone that obviously I don't want to mention names, but like he he thrives off like talking to the opponents and like
Mhm.
that's his thing. It's like he loves going out because he's going to dominate and he's going to tell you about it. And that's his like that's the way that he stays excited. That's how he drives himself to be like, yeah, like that next guy, like you're mine too. Like in his head, it's like every hitter is his son and he's going to teach him. And so like, I don't know, he's a great pitcher. So I can't say that definitely have the right opinion because
Right,
there are people out there that it works for. And so like, I just think if you're that guy, you are that guy that can kind of do it. But
right.
if you aren't that guy, I don't see the reason to trying to be something you're not.
Exactly. I think it just goes back to being yourself. Like, I feel like everyone out there, like their ideal mental state is like just a primal version of who they really are. So if you're gonna go out there and like it's obvious that you're not the person that you really are, like out on the mound and you're like trying to be something you're not, like I feel like that's when you run into the biggest problems. Like, I know we've said it a couple times here. Like, I feel like that's the essence of this argument is like if you're a showboaty type person, if that's what gets you going, if that's what keeps you locked in, like by all means, like do what you got to do. But like it shouldn't be every single person on your team that feels like they have to bat flip or show up the batter or talk crap to the dugout.
So I mean, I've given up. I couldn't even tell you how many home runs I've given up in my
I can't count
career.
either.
I mean, um, I've had a couple guys bat flip off me, and it never. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. It's like I don't really care. Like,
Mhm.
flip it to the moon, but just know that when you get back in the box, I'm coming straight back after you. Like nothing's changed. Like I'm not gonna try and hit you on purpose just because you threw your bat in the air. But like if you're gonna do that, expect it back. And I think
Right.
I don't understand what it is because kids will do that, and then once something bad happens to them and someone showboats them, they were like, "Oh, why did he showboat me? Like, what did I do?" It's like, dude, like just not even 5 minutes ago, you just
Right.
tossed your bat 50 feet in the freaking air, and all of a sudden now you want to be sensitive about someone showboating? Like, if you're gonna do it, then expect it to come back.
Mhm.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
two-way street.
like I can't stand the conversation of like if you struck him out and you yelled at him and then he came up the next at bat and hit a home run off you and he flipped the bat in the air and you were pissed at him for doing that. What are
Stop.
we like?
Yeah.
What are we doing? You know, like
Right.
why are you so angry about this? This is not something to be angry about. You just did it to him,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're not willing to if you're not willing to take what you give, don't give it in the first place. Like, don't talk if you don't like to be talked back at, because like I said in the beginning of this, this game is very humbling to
Mhm.
even the best players in the world. So like, be careful what you ask for.
Absolutely. Derek, what you got for our other question?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember this in 2021. Okay, it is a game. Okay, it's a baseball game. It is the Padres versus the Rangers. Okay, it is August 17th. Tatis comes up, right? Comes up. He takes the count to a 3-0 count. Bases are loaded. He swings freely on a 3-0 count. By the way, the Padres are up 7 runs at this point, and he hits a grand slam.
Yeah.
Okay? He comes back into the dugout, and he immediately gets ridiculed by a lot of people. He's sitting there, he's minding his own business. People are chapping at him and saying like, hey, you shouldn't have done that. You should have taken a pitch. We're up 7. Like, you shouldn't try to hit the ball out of the infield. And even his manager, Jace Tingler at that time, he's younger manager, said he's young, a free spirit, focused on all those things. That's the last thing that will ever take away. It's a learning opportunity, and that's it. He'll grow from it. And then they made Tatis apologize. And Tatis said, I've been in this game since I was a kid. I know a lot of the unwritten rules. I was kind of lost on this. Those experiences you have to learn. Probably next time I'll take a pitch. Like, I think I've said this in the pitching program before. It's like, just know that hitter is trying to hit you fail 7 out of 10 times in your Hall of Famer. So like, that hitter is going to try and make his average better. If you're going to just give up an at bat and throw a pitch down the middle, if that hitter doesn't hit, it doesn't swing, he's an idiot. And I personally don't agree with his apology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in the same boat on that.
I think it's stupid. I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, the team that's losing doesn't stop trying to win. Like, so why would the team that's like ahead of them stop? Like, it's not like if you're gonna say stop swinging, stop trying to win, then just forfeit the game. Like,
forfeit the game. What is the idea to let them come back and possibly beat you? I mean,
I get it, but here's the thing: I get it if they throw in a position player like Brett Phillips the other night, like going in and making those plays.
Yeah, 3-0 guy throwing 50 miles an hour.
But no, this was an actual pitcher. This was a legitimate pitcher that was throwing in the mid-90s, piped a fastball. Mm-hmm. Be better. Like, what? Like, you want to get angry for a guy that hits a home run? Then don't throw it straight down the middle to a possible Hall of Fame hitter, an all-star hitter. What do you think is going to happen?
You guys think that's kind of the crossover of, like, we're in a state of baseball right now where there's a lot of young all-stars playing super freely, and then there's some older, like, rules of baseball guys playing in the same generation where, like, I think in 10 years now, 3-0 home run swing, nobody even blinks.
Yeah. I mean, Carlos Gomez, who is known for his flashiness when he plays, I think he gets into about a fight a year based off something he does.
That might be low.
Right? I mean, he clears the benches in almost every city he ever visits. But like, he called Tatis and was like, dude, stop apologizing. Because I believe Tatis last year sold the most jerseys in Major League Baseball. He had the top selling jersey. This guy is literally growing the game. You better not tell him to stop playing the way he plays, because if you're really worried about your views and you're really worried about growing this game, let the kid freaking loose. He's a stallion. Yeah. Let him go. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Did you see the thing with like Freeman and Acuna? Like, Acuna basically came out and said that Freeman wouldn't let him do his, like, be himself or whatever.
I mean, that goes to what Jay just said.
Yeah.
Literally, like, you have these old heads in the game that are like, hey, you got to play it a certain way. And then you have these young kids who are like,
right,
no, I'm going to have fun when I play this. And this is me having fun. If you don't like it, you can kick on down the road.
There were a lot of people that tried to argue that it's like the same thing in football. In the fourth quarter, you're up 42-0, just run the ball.
No, because the other team is not.
Exactly. But in
football, but that's clock management. There's
a clock.
Right.
You have to get 27 outs one way or another in baseball. And so, like, to me, the ninth inning is the same as the first inning. They could score 9 runs in the first or the ninth. Whereas in football, you probably aren't scoring 42 points in the last 4 minutes. And you don't have any of control of that if you are the team losing when the other team's burning the clock. Whereas that you have in baseball, obviously, like, you got to get 3 outs one way or another. And it's the same game it was in the first quarter as it is in the fourth quarter, first inning versus ninth inning. So I just think, like, a lot of people are still, like, caught in, like, baseball is a professional game and should be played like this. And I mean, we're just at a time where, like, we got Tatis, we got Baez, we got all these guys that play with so much fire, so much energy. It could be so much fun to watch, just letting these guys loose, doing their thing, being masculine as can be. Like, I don't know. I just feel like you're ruining what could be by saying, oh, 3-0, up 7 runs. Don't swing at that middle heater.
Right.
This could be the greatest generation of all of baseball.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the most inclusive time in the world. You have these kids, like these are kids, by the way. Like these guys are 20, 21, 22, playing the hardest, I believe it's the hardest game in the world.
Absolutely.
They play in this hardest game in the world. Let them play loose. If you have a stallion, don't try to put a saddle on it. Let them freaking loose. Let them go. You know, I mean, these guys are all over ESPN top 10. And you're going to tell them to stop playing the way they play so that you can do what? Make someone's feelings better?
Derek, do you think I just feel like that's such a terrible job by that manager. I don't care what your guy does. Like, if those are your players, to me, it's like, I'm not going out there and having a press conference saying he messed up. Like,
I think part of it was he was trying to protect a couple of his other players just so that they didn't get rocketed in the head. But I mean, it goes back to the fact that like the game's not over.
Yeah.
Like until the last out's made, the other team could still win, like you said. At any point, that's why this game is beautiful. At any point, a team could get hot and score 9 runs and win it.
Yeah. Like
even at the major league level.
2004 college baseball team was down like 16 runs with 2 outs, 2 strikes in the 9th, and they lost. So like it is possible. That's the thing. You have 1 out left. It is not done. Whereas like 30 seconds left in a football game, they kneel it. You can't control that.
Fact. Like you play until the last out. And if the last out's not made, the game is still going on.
Exactly.
Right? Especially if they have an actual pitcher in there. If they have an outfielder out there, whatever. If they have like a position player out there pitching and throwing 46 miles an hour, obviously if they cashed it in, so you can kind of be like, all right, whatever.
Right.
Like you got a pitcher in there trying to get you out? No. Because if he gets you out, that just diminished your score. What if you get a bonus that year? Right? And you're like, oh, if I hit over 300 this year, I'll get an extra 50,000.
Yep.
You're telling me that if you didn't have that one hit, you wouldn't hit 300. Okay. You don't have that one hit, so you're not going to hit 300, right? Now you just missed out on that 50K. Like I know people that have jobs that don't even make that much money. You're telling me for 50 grand, you wouldn't try to hit a ball over the fence on a 3-0 count, up 7?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's a job. Like it's like what, like 10 to 15 hits is like the difference between like an elite batting average and like an average batting. You know, being like league average, and like, you know, if you're gonna take away like 6-7 swings in a year just because you're not supposed to like try to hit the ball on a 3-0 count, like
you want to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
Derek, right. We got less than a minute.
Yep. All right, everybody. We appreciate you joining us in on this podcast. Make sure that you get those questions in for us the next time that we do a podcast. DM us on our Instagram or send me a personal one at derek@psp3.biz, and we'll get those questions answered on this podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Unload the Bases podcast. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram, PSP3 Pitching, for all the latest content involving baseball from my point of view, as long as Jay Long and Dalton Mall. Peace.